And welcome to another episode of 50 Shades and Grey. This week I went back to work. So for me, that's going back to school. And that feeling of going back to school never changes. It's always as you were when you was a kid. It's like the end of a summer. Summer's ending. It's coming to an end. I've got to start getting up early again and going back to lessons, going back to school, doing new things again. And that feeling's never really left me, actually. So to me, September is about the end of the summer, but it's about new beginnings because it's that feeling of my new pencil case, my geometry set that I'm never ever going to use, but I've got it there anyway for the compass and the angles that I don't ever need again in the rest of my life. But I'm going to have new books, that feeling of getting a new book when you went back to school, opening that first page. And then you thought, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be really neat in this book now. I'm going to be really neat. And you gently fold the page over to start those first couple of letters. And you do that with all those books. I think September can be, for a lot of us, about new beginnings. And in some cases, I think a lot more than January may be, the beginning of a new year. I think for some of us, especially for parents, those that have had their children all summer long and just getting to that point where they're like, I love them, but please go back to school now. I've kind of had enough. And for them, it's about new beginnings as well, all those parents, because they start getting some of their life back again and some of their routine back again. So September is seen by many, I think, as a new beginning. And we're going to talk about new beginnings today, and we're going to talk about fresh starts. The first thing that we're going to look at is why is it that as a human race, a fresh start can be so liberating at times? The chance to start over, start everything again, start afresh, forget what happened before, and just look forward now. It immediately, I find, makes us feel so much more energized and so much better straight away because you think, no, I'm going to do it differently now. I'm going to start that diet. I'm going to start that fitness workout. I'm going to be a better wife. I'm going to be a better husband. I'm going to try harder in aspects of my life that I don't feel that I've succeeded in. And they're really important things as humans that we need to drive us forward. Because otherwise, life would kind of get a little bit boring because it would be that same thing of getting up every day and going through the same motions until, and I've found this in definitely the last couple of years, as I've got older, that time becomes far more valuable, obviously, because you're running out of it. And at some stage, you're going to completely run out of it. And we've said this before on our podcast with Anna Matham when she was talking about the uncomfortable truth is we are going to die. Someday that's going to come knocking, and it's going to be us done for this proportion of our life and on to whatever happens next. But I think that having fresh starts just gives us motivation to do something different, to think that we can start again. And I think that's really important because otherwise life can become a monotony of just trying to survive. And we want to do more than that with our life, surely. We want to just do more than go to work every day. And we want to do more than just pay the bills, just do enough, just get through. And that in itself can be very weighing on our conscience sometimes. I think where you just don't feel at times like there's ever going to be an end to this. It's going to be the same routine every day. You're going to be doing the same thing every day. I'm going to be getting up, going to work, and I'm going to live for those 4 or 5 weeks a year where I can actually live, where I can do new things and I can go to new places. And I think it's really important that we're constantly giving ourselves a break for fresh starts and trying new things. Letting go to move forward is definitely something that I know in my life that I've found very difficult. And at times, after you've experienced it once where you do struggle with it, I think you get extremely good at doing it completely. You're able to instantly switch off from something and then let it go. But it does sometimes take trauma in order for us to actually understand how that works. And that can be anything. It can be from a breakup, it can be from a loss of someone, it can be from some event that's happened in your life. But it's really important that in order to move forward, we let go of negative things that are keeping us back. Just pushing ourselves forward because we've had a bad experience before. We want to keep the positive things fresh in our mind because let's say, for instance, you've lost someone, you want to remember all those great things and great times that you've had with someone. And yet we know that that proportion of our life is over and we can remember it with happy memories, but we need to move forward. Maybe you're coming out of a relationship, a marriage, or going through a breakup at the moment where you're not the one that's chosen to actually call it a day, because for that person, they've gone through these emotions some time ago to get to that point where they are. And for you, they're very fresh emotions. And you're probably going to be thinking to yourself, well, why aren't they feeling like me? It's only been 2 weeks. They're already seeing someone else. But to them, they was probably going through what you was going through a year ago, 6 months ago, 5 years ago, and finally got to the point where they thought, enough is enough for me now. I can't be unhappy. So when you're going through those emotions for the first time, it's very, very difficult to actually understand why the other person is so far ahead of you. And it doesn't mean that they haven't experienced what you are going through. It just means they've gone through that and they've already moved forward. And now it's on you to actually move forward yourself and remember the good things that happened and look at a fresh start again, a chance to do things better, do the same things that were great before again, but maybe do things that weren't so good in that relationship or things that you didn't do so well, is to start those again. Maybe your fresh start is starting something scary. Maybe it's a new job. Maybe it's moving to a new house, a new place, moving to a new country, a different culture. Maybe it's embarking upon a relationship, a marriage, and that is going to be your scary, fresh start. And when you have those things, it's a situation where you know you're going to move forward, but nevertheless, you still have fears of what that's going to be like. The fear of making new friends, meeting new people. And these fears are just our insecurities, I think, sometimes that come out in our feelings of what if people don't like me? What if I'm not happy there? You know, what if I get there and something bad happens? Now, these are all considerations, obviously. I found when I went abroad, to live abroad, that it was very comforting knowing that I just thought, do you know, if this never works, if that doesn't work out for me, I'll get on a plane and go home. I can always go home. I can always go back and start what I had before again. That's quite simple. What I do think, though, is as you get older, it's a lot harder to have those fresh starts because there's so many things that you have to take into consideration. And I think generations have changed now where our generations and generations above me, we were brought up on you need to get out, get your own house. That's what you need to do. You need to have property straight away. Now, that's great because, again, fresh start, an investment, you know, can turn out great. However, I missed a lot of opportunities because of a 2-bedroom flat I had in Romford at the time. Because once you get onto that hamster cycle wheel, it's extremely difficult to get off and change it because you get used to, well, I quite like this. So if I quite like my own place and I don't want to like rent, then I'm going to have to go to work. So I can't stop work and go to a university or travel abroad or go here or go there because constantly you're thinking and putting obstacles in a way of a fresh start. So my advice to my son, Zach, as it was, is to, you know, don't be in a rush to get a house. Don't be in a rush to bog yourself down with things that are going to hold you back from having those fresh starts. So if you want to go away and you're going to work in another country and you leave the house from living with me, if it doesn't work out, you just come back here. But if you've already got a house, it's you've either got to sell it or you'll be think, well, I really like this place, so it will stop you having new beginnings sometimes. I think sometimes, and one of the expressions that springs to mind is you've got to sometimes hit rock bottom before you start your way up. And maybe that's a case of totally burning out before you rejuvenate to move forward again. And for some people, I guess that's what it takes. I dated once someone that was a recovering alcoholic, and I learned so much that I wasn't aware of about addictions and how difficult they were. I think myself, I know I've got quite an addictive personality, so I know what to stay away from. Silly things like, if I'm not going to have biscuits or sugar, when I do, I won't just have one, I'll have like 40 because I want to make myself sick of it when I'm doing it. So I don't do it again because I know I shouldn't be doing it. So I've learned over time with definitely some things, which is why I've never overly drunk too much. I've never taken drugs and I've never really gambled because I think for me, I know I have that addictive personality. So I need to stay away from certain things because if I like them or they go well or they don't go well, I want to keep chasing them because I'll become obsessed with experiencing that again or doing that again. So my addictions, I tend to focus on positive things. So it will be fitness, it'll be running, it'll be a sport maybe. And I think it's sometimes with lots of things. And I think you get to the stage of, and one of the scenes that I loved from one of my favourite movies, Love Actually, is where the guy is fascinated by his friend's wife and he's obsessed with her. And he goes round there on a Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. And it's when he walks away, he gets to the point of where he just says, enough now. And I think that's a really powerful couple of words to say to yourself where you just say, enough now. And it's not someone else saying it to you because we know that people can give us advice all the time, but it's only our own motivation and our own inner strength that can actually lift us up just to say, that's enough now. You need to move on. You need a fresh start. You need to move forward. And I think that sometimes we have to get to that point in order to know that we've got no choice now but to move on. And that takes time. And I think sometimes you've got to allow yourself to get there, guys, as well. You've got to allow yourself those moments where you get that low. And once you've experienced it once, I do really believe it makes you so much stronger and you find it incredibly easy, quite worryingly, actually, to move forward with it. So if we look at relationships and how fresh starts relate to relationships, sometimes letting go of love and finding new love can be so scary because there's so many things that are involved in it. It's about not just about a new person, it's everything that comes with that person as well. It's their lifestyle that you have to take on. And I think when you're in your 20s and you're meeting people, it's incredibly easy because they haven't got that baggage with them sometimes. You'll meet their parents, you'll meet their family, and you'll get to know those people, but they haven't got kids at that stage, maybe. But when you start dating in your 30s, you're now starting to meet people that have got baggage and they have got kids. And that's a new aspect of a relationship that you maybe wouldn't have experienced before. So they're very difficult things to let go of and start afresh with if you haven't experienced them before. On the other hand, that can be great experiences. Maybe you're someone that hasn't got kids and you start dating someone with young kids and you may be like, well, I don't want that. I don't want someone else's kids. But you could be a pivotal figure in those children's lives in years to come, maybe. And not as a parent, because my firm belief is you only ever get two parents, but you'll get other people in your life that will shape it and have an effect on it. And you'll learn to love in a completely different way than you do to your immediate family. And when you get comfortable with someone else's family, meeting someone else can be really scary because you think, oh, now I've got to meet their mum and dad and I've got to meet if they've got brothers or sisters or aunts and uncles, and I've got to meet them. And maybe it's a completely different culture to yours, that then that becomes scary because you're not sure how that's going to go as well. So literally, as the light fades and the sun gets lower each day in September, this could be your new start. This could be a fresh start for you. It may be, like we said, a new love, a new relationship, a new job, a new regime, a new diet, a new workout. I think September is a fantastic time to start that because everything starts in September. New shows start on TV, getting us ready for the winter, that you're indoors for longer, but we don't have to be. It's only the light that changes, and it seems to carry so much weight with it as well, especially for me. I know my mood in the summer when the light evenings, I absolutely adore them. I love it. I love just getting up in the morning and taking 30 seconds to get dressed because it's a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, where in the winter it's like tracksuits and tops and coats and gloves and hats, and it definitely does change my mood. But really it's just the light that has changed and a few more clothes, and maybe we need to start looking at September as our fresh start, as well as January. However, our old habits do come back quite easily, so be aware of those. It's very easy to fall back into our old habits. So how do we, with our fresh starts, stay this different person, this new regime? How do we stay on top of that? I think a great way of doing it is just setting yourself a little mantra or a little video and telling yourself why, reminding yourself why you don't want to go back to that, and why it's great moving forward. I said before in one of the podcasts, one of the most enlightening times for me as a person, definitely, is when I left school. I got away from the image that was given to me at school, and that you just carry through secondary school with you and you keep it all the time. And once I left school and met new people, it was such a relief to actually start letting people get to know me, as opposed to the box that I'd been put in already by people in school in sort of year 7 or year 1 as it was then, and they've just sort of, you've never grown out of it. One bad thing happens and then that stays with you for your whole school time, and it never goes away. I hope that whatever you're contemplating, if you've come out of a relationship, if you're getting divorced, if you're getting married, whatever your fresh start is, approach it with excitement, because it's a new opportunity and a different path that your life is going to take now. And that's the exciting part. And that's what I found when I was single. It was another great line from a movie, and I'll leave you with this, was Tom Hanks in Castaway, when he said, "You never know what the tide's going to bring in." And I think that is a great way of looking at life. You never know what the next day is going to bring. It could be something bad, but again, it could be something great. So hopefully for you, it's something great. Thank you for joining me on 50 Shades of Grey as it gets darker and the sun goes down. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow, guys. And I'll be back with you soon for another episode. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.